Hello and welcome to Back to the Frame Rates bonus episode of Movie Musings. I cannot speak for in these bonus episodes. Maybe it's just late. Or I don't know what it is.
It's late.
It's okay. This is the casual show where we just kind of riff on whatever we've been doing or whatever we've been watching. Just we let our hair down in these episodes. So who cares if I can talk or not?
Me.
So what we're going to be doing is just quickly talking about anything we've been watching or doing in the past week, and also doing a quick little recap of the Oscars, which happened last night, and revealing who won our little side bet, our little Oscar game, and the movie reveal that we are going to be doing for the person that won our Oscar game, which I'm not going to reveal who won yet, but we're going to get to that. This will be a fun little bonus show. Who would like to begin with anything they've been doing or watching this week? And I'm willing to start.
I can go. I've had some stuff. I've been studying a bunch in my personal life, which has taken up a significant amount of my precious movie watching time. It is such a bummer. I mean, it's cool that I'm studying and I'm glad to be on that track, but man, have I missed watching the movies. So we watched Atonement. You'll hear that episode. And then what did I do to kick off my big movie watching renaissance? That's right. It was Wonka streaming on Max. It wasn't great. But it was fine. It did sort of make me just want to watch Gene Wilder's Wonka again. But hey, I can get back in the swing of it now because...
In the same week, you watched a movie about two chocolate empires.
That's right. That's right. I did. Yeah. Yep. And they're both totally normal. Super fine. Capitalism works. Check.
These are people that are just completely, they're fine. They have no skeletons in the closet, either of these fine gentlemen.
No, everything's cool. That's why the chocolate tastes so good. Yeah, no, Wonka left me feeling like it was deeply unmagical, which was disappointing. It lacked both whimsy and heart for me, but it also lacked the edge that I really wanted. I went into it with a preconceived notion that it would be like a true prequel to Wilder's Wonka, and it just wasn't at all. It's a totally different character.
It's an alternative universe completely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a different take on the character. And I didn't like it as much. I thought it was much flatter, but that's okay. Cause then I got to watch the Oscars. So
wasn't full of pure imagination for you, huh?
Not even close. Yeah. So
I kind of wanted to see it, but I just was like, with Wonka. That's like how I felt about it.
Yeah. It was just, it was one of those movies we put on just because we were like, this is going to be just kind of easy to watch,
Yeah.
It wasn't going to require a lot of brain power, and it sure didn't. It's not the worst thing I've seen in a while. There's definitely worse, but there's also definitely better. So yeah, Wonka. Watch it, don't watch it. Either way, you'll be fine. That's
in the theater in December. My 6-year-old adored it.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. I'm glad it found its audience. And then, watching the Oscars. So it reminded me of some of the better movies, the better times.
Well, we'll get to an Oscar conversation in a little bit. Anything else or just Wonka?
Pretty much just Wonka, and finally finishing up The Good Place, which has been my Sopranos. So, because I've had time for short 20-minute little episodes. I just haven't had time for movies. So,
yep.
It's all coming up roses now, guys.
Sam, anything you want to add?
So I saw an eclectic mix of films this past week, one of which was Oliver Stone's Nixon, which was interesting. I enjoyed it. Obviously, anything I want to add, of course. Why do you think I'm here? You passive-aggressive bastard. Anyway, but I like the movie. It's a strange film. I saw it in the theater in the holiday season, 1995, with a friend of mine. His parents saw it. The father hated the film. I enjoyed it. It's Roger Ebert gave it a positive review. Very strong, strange movie, but I found myself riveted and unable to turn it off. I also watched No Escape with Ray Liotta, which is
God. Yes, I remember that.
Which is a 1994 Martin Campbell film, director of GoldenEye, Casino Royale, and also The Foreigner with Jackie Chan and Pierce Brosnan. This movie is a mid-level action film, but I think Martin Campbell is such a great director, and he's so crisp in his storytelling and his style that despite its flaws, I've always kind of enjoyed this movie. It's not great, but it was shot in, I think, Queensland, Australia, and just beautiful, cliff-like vistas and such. And then randomly to add to the mix, last night I actually watched First Night with Sean Connery, Richard Gere, and just absolute. This movie just came to my rescue. It is not a good film. It's not a high quality film. It is. Does not have. It's had the unfortunate timing of coming out in July of 1995, and Rob Roy and Braveheart had already come out these years, which just flanked it as a medieval epic. But Sean Connery is undeniably charming, and the romantic element of this film, I was engrossed, engaged. I really, really loved it. I responded to it, and I mean, I guess I would go as far as to call it a guilty pleasure, but I was surprised.
None to feel guilty about, Cole.
Yeah, perfect movie, perfect timing, and it was just something that I sort of took a risk on because I needed to watch something last night, and I'm blanking. I feel so bad. I'm blanking on the name of the who played Guinevere, but she was also in Legends of the Fall and was spectacular in that film. She was great. I found it engaging. I'm a huge fan of Arthurian legend. This really does not do the legend justice. The best film, the best Arthurian film, in my opinion, is Excalibur, directed by John Borman, because that movie's amazing. But if you want kind of a slight, fun, different King Arthur movie that doesn't have the magic and the sort of like those elements, just strips it down to the love triangle and a story of Camelot, my God, was I entertained out of my mind. So those three movies I saw randomly.
I just remember Richard Gere just being some interesting casting as Lancelot.
Well, let me ask you both this on the heels of our Noirvember and American Gigolo question. Our recommendation shelf for Noirvember for American Gigolo was underrated Richard Gere movies. Yeah. Does this fit the bill retroactively?
Yes, it
Would
does,
you add it
because
in there?
he is so lighthearted in it and so cheerful in it. He doesn't take it seriously. He is just like happy, and his scenes with Sean Connery are really good. And I just was surprised at how engaged I was with this crazy movie. I
awesome.
really felt like I went to sleep at night with like peace in my mind because I saw this and I was like, there's still hope, So I enjoyed it.
When I think of Richard Gere films, I don't immediately go to First Night because I just remember Richard Gere's performance in First Night is not where I go to for underrated performances. I don't know.
No. It doesn't really qualify. It's more.
Does it qualify as a performance?
It does, but the cool thing is that he gives me hope with acting because he's 45 in this movie and he looks really young and just focusing on aging. It's like someone in their mid 40s can still look decent, and I haven't hit that point yet, so that makes me feel a little bit better.
I do the same math, Sam. I'm like, she's 36. I got time. It's fine.
It reminds me of the kind of casting they did with Ridley Scott's Robin Hood, where they cast Russell Crowe to play like young Robin Hood. Like, what were they thinking?
No, exactly.
I mean, we like Russell Crowe.
This wouldn't even be an underrated Richard Gere performance. I think it's a high rated one. But if I'm different, not this movie, a different. If there is some way to somewhere down the line discuss Arbitrage, the 2012.
We've talked about that, yeah.
Boy, would you guys like that movie? If I had to bet my life on you guys liking that movie, and if you did not like. If you didn't like it, then I would be like killed or like thrown off a building. I would be confident enough to bet that you would like it, or at least give it 3 stars. Yeah, okay. That's how much faith I have. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to just also mention, I was looking at where you can find these films. Nixon, it looks like, is on VOD. I don't know if you saw it somewhere else, Sam, but
I did. I
um,
rented it from Voodoo. Yeah, it was VOD. Yeah.
excuse me. No Escape is on. You can get on Prime Video, Roku Channel, Hoopla, and Tubi. And First Night is on Netflix. All right.
Sick.
So I think, is that it, Sam?
That was it. Yeah, those
Okay,
three.
great, awesome. A few things I will mention that I saw. If I can find my document. So I watched several movies this past week, but I'm gonna only highlight two of
Can I
them.
take a guess which is one of them? Can I take a guess?
Sure.
Mr. Popper's Penguins. Am I right?
No, but I have seen it because it's one of my kids' favorite movies, and I cannot get through more than 13 minutes of it before I have to leave the room.
Sure.
It's a hard watch.
Yeah.
I finally gave in and watched Napoleon.
I need to know.
My original plan was to hold out for the Snyder cut. Sorry, the Scott cut.
That's
Because
crazy.
there is an alleged 4-hour version that both he and Apple TV, I believe, have confirmed it's on its way. But I did this because I wanted to check it out before the Oscars. So, after seeing it, I will say I'm not in a huge rush to see the 4-hour version of this movie.
Well, you've been on
I
before.
thought this movie was perfectly fine, but nothing amazing. I always enjoy the grand scope of Ridley Scott films. The battle sequences are very good here. And I do think that Joaquin Phoenix is one of, if not our best current actors alive right now. So it pains me to say that I was not into his performance as Napoleon at all. I don't see it much of a performance at all, actually. The only time I felt something was his interaction between him and Josephine. Anytime he's
Freaky little couple.
anytime he's off conquering the world, I felt like he was off. He was doing nothing. I don't know what.
I think he's giving this great anti-performance. I love it.
Sure, call it anti-performance, but I think the movie's trying to do maybe too much. I feel I would have appreciated a more intimate story about a portion of his life, a la like Danny Boyle's Steve Jobs movie. I wish Hollywood would take more notes on how that film told its story, perhaps whittling it down to just Napoleon's, rise and fall through the eyes of Josephine. I don't know. I wish this movie kind of whittled down its scope a lot. I kind of point to what Danny Boyle did with the Steve Jobs movie.
Yes,
how they whittled that down to a very small section of his life. I don't necessarily love that film, but I love the way it approached his life. And I'm not saying this movie had to do exactly the same thing, but spending this much time with Napoleon from 1893 to like 1915 without really having an angle or a take on it, it just wasn't really satisfying for me. I would have liked this if the whole movie was told through the eyes of Josephine or something. Like I wanted something more than just a straightforward epic retelling of Napoleon's 22 years of his rise and dissension, or his fall. And the other thing that kind of bugged me, and again, it's kind of a nitpick, is that you've all these wonderful not extras, but like the supporting cast of English and French actors, and even the Russian and Austrian actors who are putting on these appropriate accents for the role. But yet Joaquin Phoenix is speaking perfect modern English with all the modern colloquialisms in this, and he just stood out like a sore thumb in this. And it was just, I felt like it was just like, what are you doing, man? Like, why is he the one person? If it was all done, all the actors were done this way, performing in the same way, I would get it. But why is he the one actor that is allowed to why is he allowed to just be Joaquin Phoenix? I didn't see him putting on a performance as Napoleon. I just saw him being kind of like being himself. I don't know. I didn't see the performance. I don't know.
I have to watch I honestly only watched. I've only seen an hour of that film, and it was like really late at night. I got to go back and watch the whole
I s-
uh, thing.
it just was so bizarre to me. I don't know. I stand by that the great performance from last year is still him and Beau is Afraid, and you can stream that on Paramount Plus, Hoopa, or VOD. And I'm pointing people to that movie.
I totally forgot to mention. I actually total non sequitur, but I forgot to mention. I did also watch Star Trek Six: The Undiscovered Country, and no joke, that film is so incredibly emotional because
It's great.
it is
Yeah.
such a powerful send off to that cast. And unlike a lot of
Yeah.
franchise films, which sort of like want to leave a door open for a sequel, they make it so clear that this is their last voyage. And
Hmm.
William Shatner has this voiceover at the end where he's like, "This is the final voyage," and it's this push and shot of they're all in the bridge. Sulu goes off in the Excelsior because he's a captain now, and I just like I almost lose it because I love those characters so much that it's just it I find it a powerful, gut wrenching, emotional ending in a good way. Very powerful.
The other thing I watched this past, what's wrong, B? You just gonna?
Oh, I was muted. Sorry. I was like, wow, it agrees right over. I totally disagree about Napoleon. I think it's a hilarious performance from Phoenix. I think he's so funny in that movie.
I
I think he's a trip. I like the non-accent. Like for me, a bad accent will take me out. Like just I get it, you're French. You know what I mean? Like I don't need you to put
I
on a
don't want him to
terrible accent.
do a French accent. I don't mind that. He just stands out as not having an accent
I
compared to
think
everybody else doing amazing accents.
his performance, I think, will be debated for a long time. I think it's a great performance. It did take me a while to get into it. I had to stop trying to figure it out and then just kind of I think I was tired enough when I watched it that it just clicked for me and I was like, I am on this wavelength now. But I think what you're saying earlier about the scope of it, for me, the whole movie is how his personal relationship affects his decisions on the
Mhm.
battlefield. And they draw these like really clear one-to-ones. So for me, I was like, that's fine if that's the story they want to tell. I don't really need any less than that.
And I would have been okay if this movie got into that. If this movie was called Napoleon and Josephine and it was about focused on their relationship,
I think the 4 hour one will be.
maybe I perhaps, and I'm not adverse to that. But so much this movie was not about that. And I was just kind of like felt this
It did a
was
great balance.
not it was not really doing much for me.
I
But
was glad it
I
wasn't.
liked the Napoleon and Josephine melodrama stuff a lot.
I thought it did a great balance of it. And I thought
Mm,
the I mean, Ridley Scott makes beautiful movies, but I just thought the scenes of the war were
yeah.
so insane.
Those were intense. I will say that the one thing and again, I have not seen the whole movie, so it's like it doesn't quite count. But like, he does this kind of high. He's done in the past with his battles, like a high frame rate kind of, not high frame rate, a very choppy Saving
Hmm.
Private Ryan style.
Yeah.
Style. This one was the battles in this were more painterly and more like a bit more Cecil B. DeMille with
Yeah.
graphic gore, and I thought that was refreshing because it was also a very colorful movie visually because
Yep.
Ridley Scott sometimes makes these bluish cold movies where it's like always snowing, and
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
nice it was nice to he seemed to be stylistically switching it up a little bit, which I appreciated.
Yes, I
Well,
agree. And the ending is hilarious, Sam, when you get there. It's very
Yeah,
funny.
I'll
well,
get there. I can't I've only seen like an hour of it, so I can't.
well
But
when
Nathan, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
the 4 hour cut comes out, I'm willing to give a shot. Hey, listen, he fixed a lot of things with the extended version of Kingdom of Heaven, so he's got a track record
I
of the
honestly thought
director
like
cuts.
the extended version of Kingdom of Heaven was the real movie that we were
Well,
meant like, even though it was an extended that film, that 3 hour film is actually one of the better Ridley Scott
mhm,
films, in my opinion. And I really think they should have released it in the holiday season of
mm,
2005, as opposed to making it this like
Mm.
May kind of Orlando Bloom vehicle. And you have to understand, in 2005, battle scenes, people had just come off the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and they'd seen the best of the best when it came to battle. So at the time, Kingdom of Heaven looked like more of it just was like, oh, another sword and sandal epic. But it's actually, that extended version is a thoughtful movie about the nature of like religion. That's a great film, and the theatrical cut just butchered it. Yeah.
All right. I want to mention one other thing that I saw. I watched a movie called Orion in the Dark, which is a new animated feature that's streaming on Netflix. It was my intention to watch anything with my 6-year-old that wasn't YouTube videos over the weekend. And I thought this would do the trick. Unfortunately, she only lasted 60 minutes of this 90-something minute movie. I can't get her to sit through anything. But anyways, I finished it on my own. It probably skews slightly older for an older audience, but if you are a fan of films that come out from like Pixar or Disney animation, this isn't far off the mark. But I would say this is definitely a step up from many of the recent releases from those studios. Orion in the Dark is based on a children's book, and it's about an 11-year-old boy who's afraid of basically everything. And one night he is visited by Dark, the actual physical manifestation of Dark. He's actually a fun guy, kind of misunderstood, and they go on this really gorgeous, colorful, psychedelically color-toned adventure across the world to help the boy conquer his fear of the dark. And it's really a beautiful story, and it's clever and heartfelt, and it breaks several conventions of these types of films that you wouldn't expect. And you know why? Because it's written by Charlie frickin' Kaufman. So his involvement in this film takes this from what could have been just another entry into the CGI animation abyss, but breathes life into the story, giving it heart and humor. And what I love most, which is probably what turned off my daughter, and that is the element of existential dread, because Kaufman just can't help himself. So yes, I recommend it, and it's streaming on Netflix. So yeah, it is. It's a fun movie. It's not amazing, but it's definitely pretty good. I think this movie should have come out in the theaters, but I understand why it didn't. It definitely is a child of movies like Inside Out or like Elemental to a lesser degree. It's got that kind of color palette. It looks like one of those movies, and when you could easily pass right by a Netflix and think, oh, it's just another one of those movies, but it's more than that. But yeah. So yeah, those, and there's more that I watched, but I think that we'll leave it at that for now. Those are the two big ones. And of course, the 96th Academy Awards, which I think we can transition to. We all watched that last night.
It was kind of a good Oscars.
It was good. I think you know what's funny? I didn't realize that the ceremony started a whole hour earlier.
Yeah.
It started, we're in the East Coast. Sam, I know you're already back out in California. It starts at 4 p.m. for you, but it started at 7 p.m. on the East Coast, which means I turned it on with my family at 7:15, thinking that we were going to catch some of the red carpet because that's what they like.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Jimmy Kimmel's up there, like cracking his jokes. I'm like, oh wow! And I just caught the first award, like a few minutes before that. So yeah, it's so weird. I could have easily have waited another like half hour to tune in. And
oh man, I'm so glad you caught it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been the end of the world, but it's like so weird. Like, I don't think I've ever missed any part of the Oscars. And I think this is the first year they've started an hour early. I'm actually kind of glad because it ended like around 10:38 p.m. on the East Coast, which is early for us, which is nice.
It was nice. I was actually fine with the time shift. I was like, oh, sick. Extra time.
Yeah. So what did you guys think overall of the broadcast?
I liked it. I thought it was more, it was like kind of fun and lighthearted. I mean, I actually found it to be an entertaining Oscars to watch. And I feel like the general consensus is that it was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just all around it felt I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely more so than some other recent, Oscar broadcasts in the past like 5 years. I thought it was pretty great, to be honest.
Same.
Are we getting tired of Jimmy Kimmel?
I'm not. For me personally, I like him just because even his lesser jokes for me land, and he's so relaxed that it makes me feel relaxed watching the show. I would rather him guide me through the show than get some other comedian up there that's trying like really hard and sweating bullets. You know what I mean? So I'd be happy for him to come back. I'm starting to associate him as the host of that show now, in the same way that you get used to like a certain James Bond, and they keep on, the same actor keeps coming back. So I'm like, it's comforting to see Jimmy Kimmel there. For
This
me,
is his second year in a row, but I think it's fourth in recent years.
yeah,
So
he's done several. Yeah,
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I honestly don't really care who hosts the Oscars. And I remember one year, one of the COVID years, they had no host, right? They just kind of had like a slew of people kind of just jump in, which I think
That was bad.
Was it bad? I don't know if it was bad.
I don't like
I
it.
didn't really miss not having one person MC the event.
was that the one that they filmed at the train station in like Union Station? It was really weird.
Is that where it was?
Something like that.
I just remember it just shined a spotlight in the fact that you didn't really need to have one person like have hosting duties, and nobody missed it. I remember. Yeah. Well, anyways, any particular bits work for you or not work for you?
There's so many of them, but I loved it when Kate McKinnon they were talking about documentaries, and she was like and she was like Jurassic Park.
That was mine too.
She was like
Dr. Spielberg.
Dr. Spielberg, and Spielberg was just like,
he was in on it. Yeah.
I love Steven Spielberg so much that just every time I see him, I just clap at the screen because he's like my hero. You know what I mean?
Dad.
So I just exactly. And so his face and his timing was perfect. I loved Schwarzenegger, DeVito, and Michael Keaton when they were like the Batman bit. There was just the John Cena and paying tribute to like the streaker from when he kept. I thought the show actually had a lot of memorable moments, and for the most part, I thought people's speeches were pretty good. You know what I mean? Sometimes someone goes on, and you're like, oh no, but not this time. I mean, overall, I was kind of entertained.
I think you mentioned all of the bits that I did find pretty humorous. I thought that Al Pacino's reveal of the Best Picture was actually one of the weaker parts of the night. Number one, it was not everyone kind of knew in that room who was going to win Best Picture, and the delivery was very, very bizarre.
Yeah. Strange. I see Oppenheimer. It's just like, what? Like I wasn't even sure he was right, because he did not say, and the Oscar goes to. He said, I see Oppenheimer. Oh, look at the piece of paper. I was like, what are you like? What's going on here? Like,
yeah. So weird. It was like you rolled out of bed to give that award.
Yeah. That was definitely strange.
Just glossing over some of the bigger categories. For the most part, I think the awards went mostly as expected. You could say there might have been a bit of a surprise or upset when it came to Best Actress. A lot of the tracking was that Lily Gladstone was going to win for Best Actress.
I'm sad she didn't.
Although it's not like it was completely out of left field that Emma Stone won. I mean, I think it was like 50-50, but I think the America's Heart was with Lily Gladstone taking that. I think Emma Stone was just as surprised as everyone else was that she won.
Yeah.
I was very surprised, and even though I wanted Lily Gladstone to win, Emma Stone is such a good actress that
Yeah.
I was really happy for her, and I think she's amazing, and I look forward to seeing her in more movies. I just was not expecting that. I thought for
Yeah.
some reason I thought that Lily Gladstone was a shoo-in,
Yeah.
but that was
It's
definitely that
hard
was the biggest surprise for me for the night. Yeah.
it's hard to begrudge Emma for her award. I
Oh
mean, she's
yeah.
great. I think Poor Things is great, but I really wanted Lily to win.
Yeah. Couple other categories, which was maybe a little surprised, but maybe not. Let's see here. Original screenplay went to Anatomy of a Fall. I don't know if that was a big surprise, but I think it was a relatively open category.
I
And
can't believe I was shocked that Best Visual Effects did not go to 65. I just thought that movie was amazing. I just yeah.
and another one that was kind of open was adapted screenplay, which went to American Fiction, which some people, could have gone to Oppenheimer, could have gone to Barbie. There was, it was a pretty open field, but American Fiction took that, which I was happy with. I thought that movie
It's a good movie.
was well deserving. A lot of the categories were, I think, sewn up before the awards even started. Christopher Nolan winning Best Director, of course. Oppenheimer won Best Picture. Robert Downey Jr. winning Best Supporting Actor.
I think Cillian Murphy really deserved Best Actor, even though I love Paul Giamatti, and I was kind of secretly rooting for him, but Cillian really deserved it. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like I wasn't upset because he did a spectacular job. And
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is a film I liked solidly the first time I saw it. Second time I saw it, I liked it even more. That movie grows on me with repeat viewing. So I mean, I really think Oppenheimer deserved its accolades for sure.
I think that's
Yeah.
a real career defining performance for him and Robert Downey Jr.
That's
Yeah.
why I think
Yeah.
he was going to win, because for that reason alone, Paul Giamatti, I think, likely has the opportunity to equal that performance that he does in the
Yeah.
holdovers. I think he can. I think this is Cillian Murphy's moment.
Yes.
This was his career defining moment. I don't think that the movies are ever going to get this big for him again. I don't know if a movie the size of Oppenheimer will happen where he is the star of it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to think that this will open up more opportunities for him, and that'd be wonderful. But I think it's likely this is it. This is his Mount Everest. I think the Academy acknowledged that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a big problem with it. I think, I rewatched Oppenheimer a couple weeks ago, and I enjoyed it a lot more the second time. I did have a hard time watching. I watched it in IMAX in Providence, and you know what my biggest problem with it was is that I didn't love the sound mix, and I missed so much of the dialogue. And of course, I watched it at home on my TV. I put the subtitles on my stereo. I could pick up so much more of what was said. I got so much more out of it. And I gave it a 3 when I saw it in the theater. I bumped it up to probably a 4 experiencing at home, and I liked it so much more. And it's a great film. It really is. Okay, but what I think we really need to get to, and what the people are here for, because if you tuned in last week, and our show last week, actually, a lot of people did tune in for our Oscar prediction show, was our Oscar pick game. And what we did last week was we had, I think, 10 categories that all 4 of us had picks on: supporting actor, actress, actress, cinematography, score, original screenplay, adapted screenplay, director, and best picture. And the 4 of us, even though Sam, you weren't with us, we did announce your picks on the show,
which luckily turned out to be mostly right.
We're not going to get into that. We're not going. And even though some of those things that we announced may have not been fully accurate, before the Oscars began, we corrected it ahead of time. We went into it with our little game, and if you weren't there last week, I'll just recap. So what's going to happen? What we did was, the person that got the most picks correct will be able to pick a movie that we will review at a later date on our show when we have like an open week. So last night, halfway through the show, it became apparent to me that there was an opportunity there that we might have a tie between me and B. So I started to panic. At that time, Sam and Ellie were already eliminated from the game. So I started like messaging on we had our little
It
Facebook
was
Messenger thread.
frantic.
It was frantic. Guys, or it's mostly to be, we need to add a couple more categories to ensure that we don't
Terrifying.
have a tie because we didn't have a tiebreaker in place. So, and then of course I had to open up to everybody. So Sam, being pretty smart, picked different movies than what me and B picked. And you know what? Those two movies you got right, and me and B got them wrong. So all of a sudden, Sam, you're
Yeah.
back in the game, even
Right.
though you were eliminated somehow. But in the end,
I was
it
eliminated
didn't help.
because of Ellie, but we won't get into that. But yeah.
I don't think it's because of Ellie, but
When
She
she
corrected before
we're
that.
not going to get into the details of the game
Yeah.
because I don't think our audience cares about the minutiae of how the game played out.
Right.
But ultimately, in the end, yes, I won for the second year in a row because I am the Oscar pick champion. Even though B, you weren't there to beat me last year, but
Whatever.
I
I was
won.
so close. You won by 1.
I won, but I had 8 picks correct. And B, Sam, and Ellie all had 7 picks correct. It's possible that Ellie could have tied me, but when I started asking for additional picks, she just said put Oppenheimer down for the rest of them. But unfortunately, Oppenheimer wasn't one of the categories that was
Wasn't
nominated for
nominated.
visual effects. So but then she never added anything else in there. So she did not have a pick for visual effects.
So what are you going to make us watch, Nathan?
I have it right here. Are you ready for the movie announcement?
Yes.
All right. I have the trailer for it.
Hey, it's Monday morning, and I'm Jack Lucas.
In the world of talk radio, Jack Lucas was king.
Look, I said I want an offer, they can forget it.
To stay on top, he did whatever he had to.
Forgive me!
But one day, Jack went too far.
It was Mr. Lucas's offhand remark that seemed to have fatal impact on Mr. Malnick.
No matter what I have, it feels like I have nothing.
Yo, what's going on?
And just when he was about to give up on his own life, he stumbled into Perry's.
Unhand that degenerate and remove your presence! I like New York in June. How about you? You know who I am?
A hood ornament.
No. I'm a knight on a special quest,
A quest.
and I need help.
You're out of your mind!
Yes!
Now, Jack has to do something he's never done before.
Isn't she a vision? I'm deeply smitten.
Help someone else.
I thought that if I could get him this girl that he loves, things would change for me.
Okay. Do you guys still need help?
Fisher King.
That's a great choice. That's a great choice. I'm totally fine with it.
I love The Fisher King. And that is from, The Fisher King from 1991, directed by Terry Gilliam. We've got Jeff Bridges. We've got Robin Williams. We got Mercedes Raoul. Is that how you say it, Raoul? I think so. Amanda Plummer. I love this cast. I love this movie. This was one of my movies that got me into loving movies in the early 90s.
I'm really happy about Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, I watched this movie to death when this came out. I saw this in the theater. I saw this on home video. I bought the VHS and wore it out. I adore this film. So we will get to this at a later date, probably not too far off. We'll try to squeeze this in sometime in April or shortly after that. But yeah, I'm excited about this. Hopefully, I'm glad to hear that this is
It's a good, solid choice. You could have done a lot worse. Well, you
Okay.
know, if I won, I was going to make you all watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But I guess this is a fine consolation film.
Okay. All right. I think that about does it. Oh, well, that does it with that. We have to do one other piece of business before we wrap it up.
Excuse me, can you help me? I'm in an absolute loss. I've been looking for over an hour and I'm losing my mind. What I'm in the mood for is sort of a Katharine Hepburn-y, Cary Grant kind of thing. Nothing heavy. I couldn't take heavy. No, something zany. I'm looking for something zany. Or something modern would be fine too, like a Goldie Hawn, Chevy Chasey kind of thing. You know, funny. I want to laugh. I have to laugh tonight, really. Oh, do you have anything with that comedian? He's on that show. It's on the radio. You know the guy, he says, "Hey, forgive me." I get such a kick out of the way he says that. He's so goddamn adorable. That would be perfect. Didn't he make a movie? Ordinary Peepholes.
All right. So what we're going to be doing is picture this. It's a double feature night. You're watching Atonement, but we want to recommend, a really nice pairing with that movie, like a good fish with a wine or a good cut of meat with a wine. What would go well with Atonement?
Sure. So my pick for a double feature with Atonement is 2010's Never Let Me Go, directed by Mark Romanek. Has anyone here seen this or read the book?
No. I've been wanting to see this for 13 years or so. It has just always escaped me.
It's really good. The book is so much better, but the movie does it pretty good justice, and I think it's a great double feature with Atonement. I pulled up a little synopsis just because it's a hard movie to explain, so I'll just read that real quick for you. As children, Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy were students at Hailsham, an exclusive boarding school secluded in the English countryside. It was a place of mercurial cliques and mysterious rules where teachers were constantly reminding their charges of how special they were. Now, years later, Kathy is a young woman. Ruth and Tommy have re-entered her life. And for the first time, she is beginning to look back at their shared past and understand just what it means that makes them special and how that gift will shape the rest of their time together. So I don't want to get into spoilers because the twist in this is pretty insane and it's not one that I saw coming at all. But like Atonement, it has that hazy, dreamy quality to it, that artificiality, romantic artificiality that just sits on top of everything like a heavy fog. And it plays with the linear structure of time. It messes that all up and you're jumping back and forth. So I think this is a great double feature, and you can do Atonement for sort of more of your period romance, then you can get into this, which a little more modern, does have a romantic angle to it, does have a love triangle, but it touches on some different subjects. Also super dark, like Atonement. So it's, buy some tissues and chocolate. It's going to be a tough night.
Cool. And I'm just looking at the cast in this, which is incredible.
Amazing. Also,
Keira Knightley, there's great tie-in. Andrew Garfield, Sally Hawkins, Charlotte Rampling, Domhnall Gleeson, Andrea Riseborough. This is stacked.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I have not seen this. B, where can people find this?
Is it streaming anywhere? Question. Streaming on Starz, or you can see it on VOD.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I will go next. I'll give Sam a few more moments to prep. My pick, I'm not ready yet, but my pick is to pair with Atonement for the upcoming episode is the 2010 film Black Swan from Darren Aronofsky.
Another great one.
Excuse me. Number one, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. Number two, I'm recommending this because how it ties into Atonement via having an unreliable narrator. I love films where you don't know if you can trust your own eyes or you find out later that you're being lied to. Black Swan has a special place in my heart because it was a big inspiration for my first feature, Higher Methods, which is streaming on Tubi or you can purchase on VOD. Little plug there. Nina, played by Natalie Portman, also Keira Knightley's doppelganger. Another tie-in is in this. And so Black Swan is a psychological thriller that follows the story of Nina, who is this talented but fragile ballet dancer. She earns the lead role in this prestigious production of Swan Lake. Her character is striving for perfection and is under this incredible pressure. Nina goes through these transformations in this movie as she's trying to balance the embodiment of the white swan and the black swan. And in the struggle, she undergoes hallucinations that kind of blur the lines between reality and illusion for us, the audience. And I love that we're kept in suspense until the climax about what the true nature of her story is. And Portman went completely method for this role. She did several months of ballet training for 8 hours a day, and it paid off with a winning Best Actress for it. So this is an incredible performance, a great film, and it's available on VOD right now. So I love this film, and it's my favorite Aronofsky. And I know that's saying a lot because he also did Requiem for a Dream and several other great films. But
Requiem's a movie I'm happy to only watch once.
I know I've never gone back to Requiem because I'm like, I'm good. But
Yeah.
this Black Swan is for me his masterpiece, and I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times, and well, more than that. I probably 5 or 6 times at least. I've studied this movie a lot, just in scenes in this movie. It's really great. There's an awesome mother-daughter dynamic in here that is really, really incredible
immediately
too.
came to mind.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my pick. Sam, would you have anything you'd like to recommend as a pairing with Atonement?
So I would recommend Revolutionary Road, directed by Sam Mendes. Tonally dark, and the reuniting of Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet are together in a marriage in the 1950s, which falls apart. I was just riveted by this movie from start to finish. Michael Shannon, Catherine Hahn, David Harbour is in this movie, Kathy Bates. I just find this movie just incredible from start to finish. I missed it in the theaters, but though it's very different from Atonement, I just decided to include it as a sort of blood brother because of the sort of dark nature of it. But I missed it in the theater. I bumped into this movie, I think, on HBO one night. And the opening credits were just starting, and I had not seen it before, and I was absolutely blown away by it. I love single scene right up to the end, and I find it just incredibly emotionally powerful. And I somehow relate a little bit to DiCaprio in that film, how he's sort of pushed and pulled by forces, wanting to do one thing, and then he gets kind of like pushed back into his job, and he gives up on, they have this thing where they're going to move to Paris and they decide not to, but I won't say any details giving it away, but I just find it's a rough ride, but it's a really good movie. And Sam Mendes' direction for me is just incredible, and I love it. It hit me kind of hard out of nowhere, so I would definitely recommend that for sure.
Great, that's a great choice.
Thanks, guys, because you've recommended 2 movies I have not seen yet, and they've always been on my list of things I want to watch. And I have not seen this, so I really need to. Great picks.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Woo!
Okay. Well, there you have it. That is our recommendation shelf. So, all right. I think we're good. You feel good, guys?
Feeling good.
It's a good night of podcasting. Let's wrap it up then. We will see you
everyone.
next week. Check out our review this upcoming Monday of Atonement. And we will see you next week. We are going to be soon doing The English Patient after that. And we will be announcing shortly what our next theme is going to be. So have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.